Welcome to video 7. This time we're going to return to the idea of gerunds, and we're going to try to talk also about gerund phrases. If you will remember, gerunds are a type of verbal in which they end in ing, but instead of being verbs, they're going to act as nouns. And sometimes you'll remember that gerunds can be the subjects of the sentence, the ones that are doing or being in the sentence. Gerund phrases include the gerund and the object of the gerund, or any words related to the gerund. Let me give you a couple examples of a gerund phrase. I'll write them out here to this side. Flying above the lake. That could be a gerund phrase, especially if it's flying above the lake is a good time. How about this? Scrambling over the pile of metal sheets was not safe. In that case, it becomes the noun, scrambling. Let's see it in action in a couple sentences. Basically, what we're looking for is still the subject and still the verb. We have to be aware that a gerund, or perhaps a gerund phrase, might be our subject, or part of our subject. But otherwise, we're not going to do anything to specifically identify the gerund phrases. Okay? Maybe confusing, but hopefully when we do 2, 5, and 7 together, it'll make more sense. Number 2. Writing papers for English is something Jay enjoys. I'm going to first find my verb. Is, I know, is never a verbal. It's always going to be a verb because it just is. So what is something Jay enjoys? Writing. Writing papers for English is probably the gerund phrase here, so that it kind of tells us more about what he enjoys writing, but writing is something Jay enjoys. It's something that we could stand on its own, subject, verb. Okay? So, writing happens to be a gerund, beginning of a gerund phrase, is something Jay enjoys. Let's see if we can make it make even more sense with number 5. Doctors are constantly finding new cures for diseases. Okay, what is the action or state of being in this sentence? I see finding, could be a verb, but I also see are, and that's another thing. It's a linking verb in this sentence. It never is going to be a verbal or something else. It's never going to act as another part of speech. So that's going to be my verb. So who are? Doctors are. So I found my subject and my verb. I'll point out here is the gerund phrase. Finding is the gerund, and cures is the object of the gerund. So finding new cures could be my gerund phrase. And for diseases would be my prepositional phrase. Number 7. I told Laura that she should consider acting as a career. Okay. First of all, I want to point out this word. This word tells me that I've got something in which I've got 2 separate clauses. I told Laura she should consider acting as a career. We could have them each as a sentence. So I'm probably going to have 2 subjects and 2 verbs here. Let me do the first part. I told Laura. This is pretty straightforward. Well, we know that the action is told, and I did the telling. I told Laura. Second half. She should consider acting as a career. Here I have several things that could be my verb. Should, consider, acting. I know that should is never going to be anything else but a verb. In this case, it could be a helping verb for either consider or acting. But what is she really supposed to do? She's really supposed to think about whether or not she should act as a career. So, consider is my verb, should is the helping verb, and she is the one that should consider. This is a gerund phrase telling me more about what she should consider, acting as a career. So, gerund phrase. There are 20 sentences on this exercise. Why don't you pick about 8 to practice with? All you really are looking for is, again, subject and verb. If it helps you to identify the gerund and the gerund phrase, you can. Sometimes the gerund and gerund phrase will be the subject, and sometimes it won't. The other thing you should try to do is cross out any prepositional phrases you come across so you can delete them from your consideration of subjects and verbs. If you've got any questions, as always, you can ask me, or you could turn to page 31 in your handbook where they talk about gerund phrases. Good luck with this exercise.